Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. In this one, we are going to do some upgrade work on this Noveske Ghetto Blaster. As I said in the review video, this particular rifle is on loan to me by a good friend of mine, Andrew. Thanks again, shout out to him. And as a favor, we're going to put in some upgrades parts for him. So, parts on the list, we have the BAVTAG ZET Plate. We have the PH Plus hop unit. We have the 4 quantum, however you pronounce them, hop rubber. And we have the Wardo Dynamic 130% nozzle return spring, as well as the Wardo Dynamic hop arm. And finally, last but not least, is the PTS Raptor, Radiant Raptor charging handle. Now, some of you may ask, what does any of them do? So, to go through one by one, we have the ZET Plate. The BAVTAG Titanium ZET Plate is probably one of my favorite upgrade that you can put in a trigger group, especially in the Noveske trigger groups that you really don't have to do anything to them. I personally wouldn't advise you to change anything because I just like the way that they are. Except this, the ZET Plate is the plate that actuates when you have an empty mag. It pushes a arm up, which in terms of push this plate up, and this hook is what catch the bolt to stop it from going forward. Now, the hook position on the BAVTAG ZET Plate is situated slightly forward, so I can show you an example. Here we have a standard MWS ZET Plate. So again, it actuates, here's the hook that catches it. Now, if I double this up, you can see, one is that we've shaved off a lot of material. So this is much lighter, and titanium is way stronger than this, which I presume is a piece of aluminium alloy. And then the hook sits slightly forward. What that means is that it's going to be less effort for the bolt to get hooked onto this hook. Means gives you much more reliable bolt catch on empty mag, as well as this being lighter, it makes the whole system more efficient as well. And also, if you, with the added benefit of, if you want to run a ZET Plate, these are great. The weight of the standard ZET Plate, I have had this happen to me before. Some people seem to get away with it, but the weight of the normal ZET Plate throws off the balance of the bad lever. So if you want to run a bad lever, sometimes it won't engage properly or fully because the weight of the original ZET Plate is too heavy for it to tilt. There's some complicated physics involved in that. I'm not going to get into it, mostly because I don't really understand it, despite the fact that I took that for A level. But we'll glance past that. So that's that. Now, this is the PH Plus hop unit. It's probably one of the fanciest hop units that you can buy at a minute. It costs about 60-70 quid depending where you get it. It's a fully CNC'd hop unit. It's really nice. I like the red for one. And two, one of the added benefits is that it has a much stronger hop actuating arm. So on the standard MWS hop unit, the arm have a tendency to break. That's what I've been told. I have seen photos of it, but it has yet to happen to me. So this basically eliminates that problem entirely. And also the fact that you can adjust the hop with an Allen key. You don't have to jam your finger in there and then try to play with the wheel anymore. So that's really quite nice. A new hop rubber goes without saying. A better hop rubber gives you slightly better consistency, better accuracy, hops heavier beams. So these are great. And the Radiant charging handle, you know, it kind of comes down to a cosmetic kind of thing. The super badass charging handle on the Noveske is already ambidextrous, but honestly, I really like the Raptor. It is one of my favorite things to get for, you know, any AEG, GBB, if I can get it. The Radiant is great. The hop arm. So The arm itself, from Water Dynamics, is a CNC piece of aluminium that will that replaces the nub itself as well. With the nub being so hard, what you can expect is much better consistency, pushing out heavier beams, much harder pressure applied, so you can push out heavier beams. However, the problem with the metal arm is that if you overhop your chamber, you could get a BB stuck, and that could potentially cause a lot of grief. So if you're a seasoned GBB player, you know, you can do this to AEG as well. If you know what you're doing, if you don't spam that trigger, if you have that hop dialed in just correctly with the correct hop rubber, you're not going to have too much issue. But if you don't know what you're doing, if you're doing this as a DIY, your first time doing a hop unit, I wouldn't recommend. So that's what that is. And last but not least is the TM MWS nozzle return spring. So 130%, what the nozzle return spring, the stronger nozzle return spring do is that when the gun cycles, the nozzle should, it's not cycling at a minute, should stick to the chamber. The nozzle return, your stronger nozzle return spring basically means that by the time, normally, if your gun is shooting, maybe the bullet have to travel quite far back for the nozzle to unstick and then flies back to load another round. A stronger nozzle return spring basically means the nozzle returns slightly faster, means you load the next round faster, therefore you can get the next follow-up shot faster. It's normally good to pair that with a stronger buffer spring, so the whole system move a little bit faster. If you upgrade the buffer spring and, for example, you put in a lightweight bolt and the whole system is getting a bit faster, but you didn't upgrade the nozzle return spring, what could happen is you get a misfeed every now and again. So these are all the parts we're going to put in it, and we're going to get this started. So we're going to start on the upgrade for our upper receiver. So that's our hop and nozzle return spring, etc. So first things first, we're going to pull out the rear takedown pin, split the action like so, and then we can take out the front pin as well. You can normally do this by your hand. Sometimes you might need a tool to help you. In my case, I probably do need a tool to help me, so I can get this out. And this is just going to push from the other side. Give it a nudge, here we go. Pull out. You have split your upper and lower. What we're going to do is we're going to leave the lower just to a side and focus on this part first. The bolt and the bolt carrier group and the charging handle just comes out like so, and we're going to focus on the front here. So on the front you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 torques. Screw to undo. We'll find the correct bit, and that's not the correct bit. Gets me every time. One size too big still, and here we go, third time lucky, and voila. Here we are, and we'll just quickly undo all of them. Okay, now we have all 6 screws removed. We should be able to exactly just pull out the front handguard like so. Don't lose this pin as it's just flowing off. So we're going to take that out, keep it aside. Happy days. The next thing is that we're going to take out this gas tube. So we're going to again the correct bit, which I think will be this one, and it's not. Here we are. You don't have to screw it all the way out. And actually, you know what? I'm going to remove the muzzle device first, because if I don't, this will not come out. Here we are. Once you're at this stage, what you normally do is to get this a bench block, like so, clamp it down, and we'll use the correct tool. In this case, it'll be one of these. Actually, my mistake. These are for the URGI rails. What we can do is one of these, oops, multi-purpose ones should fit. Okay, this is the one that doesn't fit, unfortunately. So in this case, we'll probably actually need a, oh, never mind. This was not too hard to undo. That was actually just about finger tight, so I was able to do it with my hand. Now there's a pros and cons to that. Pro, I just undid it with my hand. Cons is that everything on a GBB should be Loctite down. That's just my opinion. However, once the front rail is secured with this pin on the front, even if this was finger tight, your rail's not going anywhere. So I suppose you have a shim here and your outer barrel comes out. Right, let's just fully disassemble this. This is in really quite tight, so sometimes we can use a tool to help us persuade it out. Just like so. And here we are. We can leave the brass collar and that O-ring on, so we'll put that aside. Here we have the hop unit itself, and in here we have a Phillips screw head. That basically gets you access to the hop wheel. Right, here's the screw, and here's the hop wheel itself. Now, I'm keeping my hand It is just that comical that it happens right now. You know, what? I'm never finding that, and luckily we don't need it because the whole unit is getting replaced. But that is basically your detent, your clickiness of the wheel itself. It's what keeps the hop in its position. It has a tendency of popping off. That's why I was trying to show the camera, well, with my hand covered on it, but obviously not covered tight enough. Unfortunately, it's one of these things with teching. It will happen to you. It happens to me. It happens to the best of us. What can you do? So we'll leave that aside, and we can get the new ones installed. So if you get the PH hop, it will come with the hop chamber itself, hop adjusting wheel, 2 O-rings, and then we can get our hop arm out from one dynamics. Now the PH hop is really nice. It's not that available in this country. You can buy them from Asia and whatnot, and they don't tend to charge you custom charges, which is nice. Now, that being said, Max has just come out with a MWS hop, and I'm going to get my hands on one of them soonish. And once I do, there will be a video coming out on the Max hop unit and how they work. Whether or not they are good, they're bad, are they too expensive for what they're worth? Because as we all know, Max hop units are expensive. Now, to install the hop adjuster, what we can do is literally just push it to the front here, and this is the Allen key. We're going to find the right bit again, and I can never get it right the first time. Here we go. What we'll do is that, like I say, we'd like a bit of Loctite on our GBB parts. And the Loctite I'm here using is 266. As I said in my previous videos, the 266 is great. Just provides enough strength to keep the screws intact in the socket itself, and they're not strong enough for you having to melt it off. So we'll just screw that down, make sure that is in tight. Here we are, making sure it's sitting straight, and voila! Now we can just disassemble the old hop unit, move this O-ring out of the way. We'll pick out this O-ring around the original hop, take out all the old bits and pieces. It's a bit of a gunking here. We don't need any of these anymore. Take all of that out. Now, the new hop rubber. Got some silicone oil. Stand by at the ready. So to install the hop rubber, you'll see a groove on the outer barrel, inner barrel itself, and then you will see a groove on the inside of the hop itself, hop rubber itself, and then you can feel it once it clicks in. Once it clicks in, we're just going to dab a little bit of silicone oil. Just make sure that that's all moisturized. And then your hop itself. Actually, you know what? We're going to put the O-ring on first. That'll make our life a little bit easier. So this nib goes in there. It's very self-explanatory. You can't really go wrong with it. It goes in the one way, and then your hop arm goes in like so. Close up the other side, and then your two O-ring sits over it like so. It's quite fiddly, and push the O-ring back in. We have it installed. It's that easy. And then all we need to do is put this back in. There is a bit of an O-ring at the front. We're just going to keep that there at the front of the outer barrel. Perfect. And then that's that installed. And all we need to do is line it back up. Make sure that you can see the hop arm to the actuator is lined up straight. And now we can, oh look at that, that's the spring for the detent. Not going to need that. So we'll put the shim back in. A little bit more Loctite on the thread itself. Just a healthy amount. That will do. And then we can put the barrel nut back on. Okay, so now we can see what we need is the screw holes to line up at a 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock direction. So we're not quite there. This is when we need the bench block to properly vise this in so we can get the correct position that we need. Okay, so that's all hooked in. Needed some persuasion, but that's sitting exactly where I want it. Now we can just begin to reassemble everything else. You know what? I'm gonna stay true to my word. These needs a bit of Loctite as well, so that they don't come undone when you're playing. And when you're dealing with any type of screws, if you're doing this at home, if you're dealing with any type of these screws, I highly recommend to get into the habit of backing the screw out first. So I'm spinning counterclockwise and feel a step, and then that's when I know the thread has matched up, and then I'll screw down. Because if you don't, sometimes if it just misaligns a little bit, what it could mean is that you've opened up a new thread for yourself and you will eventually strip this thread, and it's not a good time for anyone. Now we can just put this back on. Don't forget our little pin. Let's just make sure that everything sits straight. And then now we are going to put thread lock on each of these studs. Just a little bit, don't overdo it. Again, I'm backing out, feel a step, then I'm in. And then if you can help it, do opposite corners so you're applying even pressure at all times. Oh, come on. Okay, so that's all done, and I probably should have checked this before just to make sure that the hop is being actuated. Yep, I can see the hop coming down, going up, and it's sitting nice and straight. That's what we like to see. So that's the hop upgrade finished. We can put that aside and focus on our nozzle. Now, our nozzle is again really easy. I've done quite a few of these now, so the MWS nozzle really isn't hard to get apart, and although there might be quite a few parts to it, but it's not really hard to disassemble once you've done a few. Here we have the spring. Pull out the nozzle a little bit. The guy pops out. Pop out the stopper, and the nozzle comes out. While we have it here, we're going to give it a wipe, get off some excess lube that we have on here. We're going to re-lube the whole system afterwards anyways. Here we are. Right, now we're going to get the bottom seal, just pry it off. And then here we have our original nozzle return spring. To get to it, we have a small Phillips screw right here. We're just going to undo it. And to this stage, you can normally just pull it out. Not quite. Okay, here we go. Okay, so it doesn't want to come out, we'll give it a nudge on the other side, and off it pops. Here we have the rocker valve and the rocker valve spring as well. So to undo the old spring, we're going to get a new one out first. So these springs do snap over time from stress and whatnot. It happens, so you might find yourself do this at some point. There is a roll pin on each side that keeps the spring where it should be. So we just very carefully poke it out on one side. And this other side, we might need some persuasion from using our block here. Give me my little hammer. Slipping. Here we go. And the old spring off it pops. Don't lose your roll pin. And then we can straight away just put the roll pin back. Make sure that all lines up. What I like to do, this is quite fiddly, what I like to do is put the rope in about halfway, just enough for the nozzle return spring loop to have enough to grab on. Just about there, so I don't know if the camera can show it. So it's got a little bit for it to grab a hold of. That's actually a little bit too much, so we're just going to back it out a hair. It's tedious work, this. Right, poked it back out again. So we do that, rinse and repeat until we get it right. There we go. Put this in. Just about reach. And then at this stage, what you can do is get a pair of pliers and you can just push the whole thing through. And my fat fingers will just listen. Okay, so almost in all the way. And here we go. Pop it goes. And there it is. And then we can do the same with the other one, but the other one roping is on the plastic bit, so life is a lot easier. Love how I say that, then struggles. The water springs are just a bit too short for the standard roping distance on here. We'll try that again. Just push it back out a little. Get some light in it. Like I said, it is just tedious work. I think we got it. And we push through. Here we are. It is done. Took a bit of persuasion. So we can put the valve back in. There is a particular way that these rocker valve will go in, but to test if you've got it right, I always put it in, get a long screwdriver or something like that, just feel if that spring has got some resistance. If the rocker valve is not seated properly, it will not give you that springy feel. It will feel like there's quite a lot of friction, and that's not what you want. And here we are, we have the nozzle return spring in its position. All we need to do is screw it back in. At this point, we're just going to check that it's in properly. Happy days. Now we can put the seal back on, and then we can start a reassembly process. So, a bit of silicone oil. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Oops, don't drop things either. And we can put the nozzle back in. Lines up with the bottom there. And use a pair of tweezers or something, just put it through, and then get your locking mechanism to slide right in. So get some practice behind it. It's really easy to do. Put the nozzle forward, put the top piece in, and then the next piece is the spring. I tend to like to lift the spring, the top plate up a little bit, seat the spring where it should be, and then find the nib that sits onto the that is on the inside of this top slide, and then I'll hook it on like so. I'll give it a wiggle to make sure that is seated properly, and then the screwdrivers, sorry, the Phillips screws. I don't tend to Loctite these because once it's in the gun, there really is nowhere for these screws to go, and they've never come loose on me either, so these are fine. So now this is a lot more stronger. Now we're going to, no, this is the old charging handle, we're going to put the Raptor rod in, and we're going to re-lube the bolt. Here I'm using the Finish Line Extreme Floral, just a long strip here. Use my finger, rub it in. It's a really good lube, highly recommend. Just a little bit on the top, wherever it's going to get some action. And the bottom here. Don't need too much. It's literally, it coats a thin layer of polymer. And then I'm going to put some in here. Just a strip on top. And then just to give it a thin coat. And a tad more here. Perfect. And this can go back into the upper itself. Okay, so now we're going to go through the process of installing the ZET plate. So to disassemble the lower, first of all, we're going to just give this a quick wipe. There's a lot of excess grease on here. Let's just get rid of that. Here we are. So there's several things that we need to do to disassemble the, well, get to the trigger group. We're going to have to take out the mag release. We're going to have to disassemble the MV bolt catch. Going to have to take out and then disassemble the MV selector, and we have a trigger pin to do. So we're going to use our tool again, press it all the way to the other side, and we're just going to start undoing our mag release. And once you spin it to a certain state, what we can do is, well, actually not on this particular model, on your standard M4 you can kind of cheat and do it that way, but here we're going to have to just back it out all the way. Here we are. Now, this is on the spring tension, so make sure that this doesn't go flying across the room. Here we are, the spring and the mag release itself. Just give that a clean. And we're going to get that pin out just now. There's no real particular orders that you need to do this in. Yeah. Pin pops out. And then to disassemble the MB selector, we're going to need a really fine flathead. Just a bit too big. Perfect. Gonna back out the screw. Not helping that I'm doing this at an angle. Had a longer bit, that would be nice. Mostly out, there we go. And this half just pops off. Then to disassemble your fire selector, you basically just push it to the rear 45 degrees and then give it a push while wiggle. Go, rotate and wiggle. Now we will need to sorry, I missed the point. There is also a screw down in there as well, so we will use our Allen key. That's probably one of the most important thing. Can't believe I forgot about that one. Here we go. There we go. The screw comes out, and actually the trigger box just lifts out. Not quite. Yeah, we do need to disassemble. Just undo that screw here. Stop slipping. I really wish company made this into a Phillip, so it's not doing that, but here we are. Pin comes out. Our ambi selector with the spring comes out, and our trigger grip should be able to lift out. Not quite. I think we have a pin here yet. Here we are. Voila! Now we lift up. Happy days. Now, to replace the ZET plate, take the old one out, put a new one in. Simple as that. It's simple as that. It really is nothing to it. So I will just put a little bit more grease in here for the new ZET plate, and on the other side as well. Here we are. Now we can just drop this back in. All the way in. Here we go. And we can put our pin back in. Where is my... There it is. Push it all the way in. Here we are. And then we can put our spring into position. And all we need to do is put our corkscrew in position and screw it down. Okay, here we are. Yep, we can test that works by pulling, simulating a bolt lock, and then by pressing that, we are feeling resistance to drop that ZET plate. Happy days. Now we can put the pin back in. Remember, when you're putting this pin back in, it's from the right hand side of the rifle, and I'm using my mallet, just pushing that back in. Nice and simple. Safety selector back in. We're going to just get in there, push down the trigger bar, push across the detent. You'll find a lot of time that we're fighting the detent. Here we go. Just wiggle that in. That's that working. We can put the other side, press it on, put this detent back in, and for here, this is one I will Loctite, because if we're not careful, we could lose this. And in a lot of TM recoils I've seen actually, that we do lose, they do have a tendency of losing the MB selectors. Here we go, just wipe away the excess. And then this screw here as well, we're gonna put a little bit of Loctite on that. Just on the bottom thread. All the way down, and then all we have to do is put the mag release back on. I'm going to screw it on this side first, as much as I can. until I can't anymore. And then I'll push through. Do it from this way. Here we go. Now, that is the lower done. All we have to do now is put the upper and the lower back together. You can see a good nozzle seal. And let's test the bolt lock. As you can see, the bolt now locks slightly forward to normal. Bolt release works. It's done. So yeah, thank you very much for watching the entire way. I know there's some bits are quite tedious. I probably could have done it faster, but here we are. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, do drop us a comment, and if you have anything to say about my tech work, how shit it is, drop a comment as well. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.